What's up, guys? It's Jake to the D, Jake Diesel, once again here with an episode of Pimp My Game, and today's game is the third-person action RPG driving open sandbox game, Mad Max. And so the first thing we're going to do when we pimp your game is talk about the achievements, and I heard you like collectibles, so I'm going to put some collectibles in your achievements, and actually I heard you like collectibles so much that I'm putting collectibles on your collectibles. Let's roll. Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of the 1000 Gamerscore Report, and as you could tell from that cringe-worthy intro, today's game is Mad Max. It's an open-world sandbox game, partially on foot, partially behind the wheel of various vehicles, and we're going to be reviewing the achievements for this game, giving you a little bit of insight into what you can expect to try and perfect this game to get the 1000 points. So let's get right into it. First off, there are 49 achievements in the game for the total of 1,000 points, or the Platinum Trophy if you're on the PlayStation side. There is currently no DLC for this game, so it's just what you get in the box, and you get the 1,000 points, and that's it. So no having to make additional purchases or anything else if you want to complete this game as it stands right now. The achievements, we'll start with the story mode, and the story mode it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of achievements. You're not going to get a lot of gamer score for just getting through the story. There is a central story, a bunch of missions that you need to go through. Some of those missions will require you to do some side tasks. If you're familiar with sandbox games, open world games, then you know what we're talking about here. There are a bunch of side tasks to get involved in: races, collections, destructions, destroying certain numbers of vehicles, and all that normal side affair. And so to progress through the story, you'll have to get through some of that, but not a lot of it. But the plus side is there's no difficulty settings, and there's only one required playthrough. There's no multiple endings or any other choices you have to make that'll require you having to go back through the story a second time. So finishing the game is pretty standard fare, and will get you probably 15, maybe 20% of the achievements. Once you finish that, then you've got the collectibles. I think I spent more time post-game going after collectibles to perfect this game than I did in the story mode, including all the side stuff I had to do to progress the story, and it wasn't close. It's kind of a tale of two cities here in these collectibles. The good side of it is that they're handled extremely well. There are in-game trackers for everything, for the progression that you've made in terms of certain tasks or challenges that are part of the collectibles, or certain numbers of collectibles that you've achieved. If you're in a certain area, there's a whole bunch of areas to visit on the map, and anytime you're in one of those areas, you can pull up a tracker that will tell you how many collectibles there are in that area, and how many of them you already have, and how many of them are left. So all that is handled beautifully. The execution is fantastic from an achievement and collectible standpoint, but the developers, they just went nuts with the sheer number of things you have to do. It's collectibles, and then it's challenges. And just an example, there are, I believe, 191 distinct locations. These can be tiny little camps with just a tent set up, or sprawling castles / dungeons that are defended with a boss at the end that you have to work your way through multiple rooms and multiple elevations and stories and buildings and whatnot. And so each of those is one. There's 191 of those, and each of those 191 locations has multiple collectibles. I would say the average is probably between 4 and 5 collectibles per location. So call it 4 at 191 locations, and you can just imagine the sheer volume of collecting that you're going to be doing. Driving to a location, jumping out of the car, beating up the bad guys that are there, and then wandering around and trying to get the collectibles. Now, once again, the good news is that the collectibles aren't hard to find or hard to get. If you're diligent, if you work your way through carefully through each location, you can find all the collectibles that are there. You probably don't need a guide. In the Metro games that I did last time, some of the collectibles there are just so well hidden, you would miss them if you didn't know where to look for them. Here, I'm pretty sure if you spent enough time, you'd find them without outside aid. But the problem is, there's so many of them that you don't want to spend the time trying to do it yourself. I kind of had the goal of like, oh, I don't want to use any outside guides or whatever. And fine, I got to, the 100th location, worked my way through the dungeon, found 9 of the 10 collectibles, worked my way back through the dungeon once I'd cleared it looking for this one more, and I'm like, am I really going to spend 10 minutes here trying to hunt down this last collectible when I've got 90 more locations to work my way through? No, I'm not. So yeah, a couple of times I tried to find them myself. I would work through whatever location it was. Most of the times I would find everything, but occasionally I would be missing one. And if I was missing one and then I worked my way back through it a second time and I didn't find it, yeah, I pulled up a guide. That probably had to happen 5 or 6 times where I had to do that. So just be aware. You can find everything if you have the time, if you want to invest it. There's nothing that's like super secret or inordinately difficult. It's just the time you want to invest in doing this. And for me, at some point, I was just sick of it and I wanted to keep progressing, so I pulled up a couple of guides, which there are plenty of them to find online. So none of that is going to be a barrier to you. So moving on from the collectibles, the other piece of the puzzle in terms of reaching your 1,000 gamer score, the other hurdle you have to cross are the challenges. And there are so many of these challenges as well. I'll put up on the screen just a quick holding the down direction on the analog stick to scroll through all the completed challenges and watch how long it takes to do that. Full speed scrolling, it probably takes 30 seconds to get through them all. And again, the challenges aren't hard. Nothing about the game is difficult in terms of challenging your skill. It's just challenging your sanity and your dedication. So there are things like visiting all the locations. There are things like finishing all the races in a certain amount of time. There are things like getting a certain number of vehicle destructions in a certain vehicle. There's plenty of vehicles and setups for vehicles that you can use in this game, and some of the challenges require you to use certain setup number 1 to destroy certain amounts of vehicles. And some of them get really technical. It's use vehicle A to get a number of kills on vehicle B. And it doesn't really make sense from a storyline. It's not a natural thing. It's like you have to artificially create the scenario to get these kills. And again, you can do it. It's just a matter of time. So it wasn't an enjoyable experience again at the end. I've gone through the story, loved it, had a great time, and then it was like running a marathon trying to slog through these collectibles and these challenges. So in terms of the hardest achievement, I think it's without a doubt, again, not a skill-based thing, just a time-based thing, completing all the challenges, which is an achievement in the game. And there is a distinction. There's a number of challenges that are repeatable, so it's complete these X amount of times, whatever the challenge is. Those don't count. It's only the one-off ones, and you can easily tell which are which because in the challenges screen, which again is great, they have a challenge tracker. That's all done superbly. Some of the challenges will say, this challenge completed 0 times, or 1 times, or 2 times. Those you don't need to worry about. The only ones that count are the ones that don't have that completed X number of times. So again, I usually cover the most annoying achievement, and in this case, it dovetails with the hardest achievement. It is just completing the challenges and the collectibles. Other than that, there's nothing really here that's a problem. There's nothing that's annoying or overly difficult or time wasting in that you're sitting around kind of idle, like was the case in Mad Max. It's just putting the time in you're constantly on the move. You're constantly doing something. You're not just sitting waiting, but it gets a little bit monotonous, completing all these challenges and hunting down all these collectibles. So once again, to wrap up, it's a tale of 2 cities. It's the good and the bad. And the good news is everything this game does from an achievement standpoint, it does really well. Trackers, charts, lists, all that stuff is great. You can pull it up, see where you stand. The problem is where you stand is probably going to be really, really, really far down the mountain with a long hill to climb because there are just too many achievements, too many challenges. So at the end of the day, I'm going to recommend the game in terms of completing it. It's not hard. You can do it if you put the time in. And I'm going to give this game, from an achievement standpoint, a review of just the achievements. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. And that is because everything the game does related to achievements, it does well. It just does too many. So too much of a good thing is a little bit of a bad thing in this case. But anyway, if you're looking for a game that you will enjoy, yeah, I think it's a good game. It's a quality game. You can get the 1,000 points. There's nothing that's going to prevent you from doing that. So, hey, if you're in the mood for one of these open sandbox world games, then get after it because it's a good one. I think you'll enjoy it, and the achievements are not hard to get. They will just take you a little while. So thank you for joining me. Hope to see you next time. Feel free to hit that like button and subscribe for future content, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.